Before you charge into 2025 with big goals and fresh energy, let's hit pause. Today, we're diving into a no BS reflection on your elopement photography business. What worked, what didn't, and what lessons you can carry forward. Because the best way to grow is to know exactly where you've been. So grab a pen, grab a drink, and let's look back at 2024. Let's celebrate the wins, learn from the losses, and set ourselves up for an even better year ahead. Welcome to Stoked, the podcast that helps adventure elopement photographers hit six figures and beyond in their businesses without hustling on social media. I'm your host, Megan McPhail, a former burnt-out emergency veterinarian that quit my hard-earned career to become an elopement photographer. Now I'm living a life I absolutely love, full of travel, adventure, and financial abundance, and I am hell-bent on helping you do the same. Are you ready to start booking out your calendar with dream couples in breathtaking locations and feeling genuinely stoked about your elopement photography business, life, and bank account? Then let's dive into this week's episode. Hey, it's your host, Megan McPhail.
And your co-host, Todd Reedy.
And if you're new here, I'm all about helping elopement photographers hit six figures without hustling on social media. And for today's episode, we're reflecting on the highs, lows, and lessons of 2024 in your elopement photography business. Because knowing what worked and what didn't is the first step to building a business and a life you love in 2025. So recently, I had a group coaching call with all of the members of the Elopement Photographer Mastermind, and we did this exact episode where I asked them what worked in 2024 and what didn't. And I'd love to not only ask you to think about these things and write these things down for what worked for you and what didn't in 2024, but I also want to share with you the common themes that I discovered throughout that group coaching episode. So as you can imagine, a lot of the wins revolved around bookings. So a lot of the members hit six figures, which is amazing. That's the whole goal of the program. So the fact that we're at the end of 2024 and they are celebrating six figures is awesome. They also talked about how they were booking their ideal clients and that their clients felt more like friends than like a client-vendor relationship. A lot of them were also celebrating raising their prices. But some of the other stuff was interesting as far as what their wins were and what worked. So another few things were more like lifestyle focused. So a few people mentioned going to therapy and having significant mindset shifts that helped their business. Several of them talked about that they weren't overbooking themselves. So that's awesome because all the people who talk about booking 50 or 60 things a month on Instagram, like that's not what we're trying to do. So some people were celebrating less bookings while still making more money and being able to stay home more. Other people mentioned rest and like nervous system resets, which is so crucial. You know, you've got to focus on rest and you really got to prioritize it. And a lot of people made friendships with photographers that they really counted as wins and were some of the things that worked great. And then the other things that people mentioned were some workshops that they really loved, some retreats that they really loved, styled shoots, and SEO rankings going up, websites finally being dialed in. So the overall wins were really about committing to elopements, raising prices, and then like setting boundaries. Because if you go into what didn't work in 2024, it was a lot of stuff. Unfortunately, and a lot of lessons learned the hard way.
And I'll chime in here because I think we don't want to talk about our losses. We don't want to talk about our failures, but that's where a lot of the growth ends up being. If everything runs perfectly smooth, I mean, that's great, but there's not much growth there. And so figuring out what doesn't work and reflecting and putting that on paper, I think is probably more important to make changes, right? Because you're at least identifying things to work on going forward. So I think this list is probably more, enlightening.
Yeah. I wanted to share it because I want people out there who aren't in the mastermind to realize that they're not alone in their struggles and that we all go through the same struggles and you're not alone in some of the things that you're struggling with in your business. And a lot of the wins and the things that did go right they might get posted on Instagram or talked about in Facebook groups. Like you'll hear about these highlights from other people's businesses, but you're not going to hear about the lessons learned the hard way. Those things people keep close to their chest.
Yeah. And I think like just hearing that other people are having struggles, again, like you said, that aren't showing up on social media or that people aren't like outwardly projecting. Cause again, you like want to keep that to yourself, but hearing like that other people are having the same struggles as you kind of lessens the intensity and like the importance of those struggles, just because these problems aren't unique to people. They're not unique to us. They're not unique to our clients or to you as a listener. So yeah, like,
so let's normalize them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just part of running a business and like learning and growing. So what were the kind of overarching things that were not working in 2024?
So one of the biggest things was overwhelm and burnout. You know, I teach elopement photographers to book all-day elopements with clients they love at higher prices, just hit six figures and stuff like that. And there's problems that arise when you start booking a lot of people. So while some people were celebrating wins of not overbooking themselves, other people did take on too many clients in 2024 and were working with some non-ideal clients and maybe people that gave them a hard time about the photos or the gallery delivery timeline or whatever it was. So taking on too many clients was still something that people were reflecting on in our group coaching call. Another one was poor boundaries. So when you start booking photography gigs in general, I feel like a lot of people start working with price hagglers right out of the gate. And price hagglers tend to overstep boundaries just because of their personalities. Like they don't normally trust the people that they're booking. So they tend to micromanage and nitpick and stuff like that. So a lot of people who had bookings with price hagglers, they get stuck in this kind of like people pleasing, kind of overextending themselves. And I think that also happens when you start booking at higher prices. Like you think you have to do more. And that's really not the case. Like you don't have to run yourself ragged to justify charging $5,000 for an elopement. Most of the couples that book photographers for $5,000, they're not like the price haggler couples. They actually trust you and they trust the process and they're happy and they're not micromanaging and nitpicking. But sometimes when people are transitioning to those types of clients, like our ideal clients, they still come with a little bit of trauma from all the clients in the past that really took advantage of them and their niceness. So creating boundaries as you move forward and start booking more elopements and at higher prices, a lot of people struggle with that. And it ends up going poorly sometimes.
Yeah, I'm looking at this list and the overarching like umbrella term would be boundaries. Like a lot of these line items go directly to that, like with the people pleasing, over delivering, not having firm boundaries or like having to sort out those boundaries themselves. So I think being a service provider, inherently we are people pleasers. And so we want to over deliver and we want to be there for any extra requests or questions and things like that. But yeah, boundaries are tough, but they're important.
They're very important. And having strong boundaries and sticking to them doesn't mean you're being mean or that you're not giving an amazing client experience that deserves 5 stars. It means you're protecting your peace, you know, and you're protecting your energy. And that's super important. That's how you best serve people, by protecting your energy and resting when you need to and not overextending yourself. So I do find, even if I warn people and even if I try to tell them not to do this, that when someone has their first really successful year as an elopement photographer, they tend to overextend themselves and create a lot of stress and have no boundaries. And then they end the year and they're like, I am never doing that shit again. So I can tell people all day to have boundaries, but sometimes it's one of those things where you truly do have to learn the hard way, unfortunately. Just like I always joke about like teenage Megan, my dad gave me all kinds of great lessons that were in one ear and out the other. And I didn't learn them until I learned them the hard way. So sometimes, you know, newly minted elopement photographers are like teenage Megan, where they just don't listen and they unfortunately have to learn the hard way themselves. But you learn the hard way and then you don't go back to that. And then you start 2025 with freaking boundaries.
Yeah. I had my year, and despite Megan whispering in my ear and telling me blatantly, like, maybe don't book all of those people. And yeah, I was looking back at the previous year. I think it was 2023. I was like, wow, that was way too many. And it definitely was.
And it
I
was
got
some
burnt out.
non-ideal people too.
So it happens. Again, one of these things that you have to go through and you learn and you don't repeat it.
You learn what you can tolerate and what you won't. And yeah, it's an important lesson learned. And if you're going through that right now, I'm sorry. But 2025, you'll have boundaries. So yeah, overwhelm and burnout is big, especially when you're not used to, shooting 20 or 30 elopements. Like, you got to get your systems right. You got to figure out what works and what doesn't work for you specifically. So another thing that people talked about was a lack of rest, because, a lot of people are in a season of hustle where they're really trying to build their business. So they're not resting the way they should, and they're ignoring their body's cues for rest as well. And so that was kind of an overarching theme where people were like, I was going too hard. I was going too hard. I was burning the candle at both ends. And now I need to reset. So yeah, when I talk about rest, I talk about how it has to be purposeful and you have to make time for it and do it and make it like part of your to-do list. You need to recharge. Your computer needs to recharge. Your phone needs to recharge. Everything needs that time where it's resting and it's just building your energy back up. And that's super important. So listening to your body is huge. Todd can also say he's not always the best at that.
I'm awful at that.
Yeah.
I don't sit still very well.
Yeah.
So I want to be doing stuff. Yeah. So taking physical rest days, but also I think the importance of like mental rest days too. Like, put your phone down. Don't open your computer on at least one day of the week. Like, our brains and our eyes aren't made to look at pixels.
Yeah. Nonstop.
This many hours.
Yeah.
And like, I know we all probably wanted to get into like the adventure and like the elopement and like being outside and enjoying that. So we should maybe do some of that for ourselves. And that's definitely something that we continue to say we need to do more of, as in me and Megan. Yeah, probably you guys too.
Yeah, I'm pretty good at resting and watch Netflix, but I could definitely use some more like rest time out in nature. I think that should be part of what we do in 2025. Cool. Yeah. And so another overarching theme was like time management and mindset challenges. So perfectionism is huge with elopement photographers, with photographers in general, and with the elopement photographer mastermind members. I am constantly having to remind people that B and C grade work is totally acceptable, that your idea of A grade work, like, someone else is not going to notice the difference between your A level work and your B and your C level work. Like, they're not going to know. And by the time you get to what you think is perfection, you've spent too much time doing it instead of getting it out into the world. And that's really the best business owners get shit out into the world. They publish blog posts, they get their website done, they do Pinterest, like, they take action. So perfectionism is a huge thing that people struggle with. ADHD is another thing that people struggle with. I'm pretty sure everyone in the mastermind has ADHD. I think I inadvertently created a program specifically for the neurodivergent folks because I'm ADHD, and I created all these systems and things that help me, not even realizing I have ADHD. So really helping people in the mastermind kind of overcome some of the challenges that they have as, neurospicy folks is big. And it's so unique to every person how to get you to do the work when you struggle with having too many ideas and too many thoughts and too many things on your to-do list. So time management is a huge part of the struggles and things that didn't work in 2024. And then there's also a lot of limiting beliefs as well, like just thinking you're not worth what you're charging, or, the money mindset issues you might have that stem back to childhood, fear of failure, fear of success. Those are all things that people struggle with. And like, it's uncomfortable getting over those things. I mean, I know you can talk to like charging $4,000 as a videographer made you want to puke at first.
Yeah, that was very uncomfortable.
Yeah. So there's a lot of discomfort going on as people are working through those time management issues and those barriers they have in their mind and trying to figure out how to best work with their ADHD, like there's a lot of growth that comes with all of that, and a lot of discomfort and a lot of probably guilt and shame that you didn't do more. But we're not meant to be robots. We're human beings. We can't be perfectly time managed and have the perfect mindsets right out of the gate. Those are all skills that you develop as a small business owner and entrepreneur. So people definitely mentioned their growth with that. Hey photographer, do you dream of having a successful elopement photography business but don't know where to start? Imagine having the confidence to double or triple your prices, booking your calendar solid with dream couples and breathtaking locations, and feeling genuinely stoked about your business, your life, and your bank account? Then I'd like to introduce you to Stoked Academy, the go-to membership community for adventure elopement photographers that are ready to scale their businesses to 6 figures and beyond, all without hustling on social media. In Stoked Academy, you'll get access to everything you need to build a 6-figure business, like mastering marketing strategies, pricing for profit, elopement planning, worksheets, templates, spreadsheets, and so much more. Plus, you'll connect with a positive, supportive community of elopement photographers who are as passionate as you are. And the best part? It's insanely affordable, like less than the cost of a new memory card for your camera. Plus, as a member, you'll get to join me for a monthly group coaching call where we dive deep into strategies that will take your business to the next level. If this sounds awesome, then head over to stokedacademy.com to learn more about the membership and join us. I can't wait to see you in there. And then another overarching theme was financial lessons, like money management, overspending in your business, not understanding cost of doing business until we forced you to do a spreadsheet on it, and then being horrified by how much your business, costs. So things involving money and money management were also a big struggle for people. And that's also really common. So what wasn't working in 2024 was really lack of boundaries, burnout, and neglecting self-care. Like, I think that's really how we could summarize it. And I haven't written mine down, but I think we should share what worked for us and what didn't work for us in 2024 and just do it right now.
Oh, yeah. Why not?
Yeah. What worked for you in 2024?
From an elopement video standpoint, taking on less clients. We definitely put more time and effort into the coaching business side of our world. So taking on less of that was good. It made me like more, I think, present and like made my videos better because there were just less of them. And I think this year we got a lot of our systems in place. Again, for the more the coaching side of the business, whereas before it may have just been a little bit like ad hoc-y. We were still figuring things out. And so this year, I think we spent more time to make things more streamlined, which definitely freed up more mental energy and time on my side. By just standardizing things. Yeah,
because for the folks that don't know, Todd pretty much manages all the behind the scenes stuff of all the coaching programs. So he has a lot of little nitpicky administrative tasks and management tasks that I'm not good at that he's taken upon himself. And it's like a well-oiled machine at this point, I feel like.
Yeah.
There's probably even more we could do to streamline and automate, but like it's pretty good at this point.
Yeah. I think that was a deliberate effort to make that better this year. So I'm happy with that.
Yeah. Me too.
Yeah. Okay. What worked for you this year?
I would say, taking on less elopements, although part of me did miss taking on more, like having more elopements to shoot. Like I did have some FOMO when I would see people, because like we didn't have anything in Zion this year.
You're right.
Yeah. So like I saw some people shooting at Zion and I was like, oh, I miss Zion, So like that was kind of like a mixed bag actually. But I think the other thing was really, I did a lot of resting. I feel like my nervous system is pretty dang chill right now. Like I think it takes a lot to frazzle me. I think the most frazzled you saw of me was probably in the Lima airport.
Oh, and that was pretty chill.
So I have nurtured my nervous system. And so, yeah, I'm pretty chill. And the other thing that worked was bringing on more support coaches into the mastermind and kind of giving them more responsibilities within the mastermind for the students in there. I really feel like I was kind of white knuckling the mastermind for a while, or like everything kind of had to go through me. And I thought I had to be the be all end all coach. But now that I have all these photographers who have gone through the mastermind and seen success, who are now coming back to help with the coaching, who have actually been through the mastermind, like that's pretty freaking cool that they're in there and they're helping me with stuff. And they're like the best people to help because they did it all recently, you know?
Yeah. And the feedback we're getting from the current students also supports that, right? Because they're getting more out of you in like your zones of genius. And then they're able to have other touch points with other folks to get different points of view and like having, just more people in their corner that are experts in their like little niches. So I think the people are really enjoying having more coaches to help support them.
Yeah. And I think the members of the mastermind, they really have like a team behind them now instead of just me, which is pretty freaking cool. So I would say that getting that really dialed in, like getting the mastermind more streamlined, because we're so involved in the mastermind. There's like homework reviews and calendars, and there's a lot going on. There's a lot of moving parts. So getting it really organized and streamlined, and while getting more people in there to support and coach, I feel like that was our greatest win this year for sure. Cool. Well, what didn't work in 2024? What did you struggle with?
Oh, yeah. I think I struggled and probably still struggle with setting my priorities when it comes to like my time management. I get caught and hung up doing some busy work type things as opposed to like bigger picture things that are going to move our business forward. Yeah. So that didn't work. And I know that I'm still working on that. So yeah, that's probably the biggest and like overarching thing that didn't work for me.
Yeah.
How about you?
Well, I would say, I mean, the FOMO that I have of all the cool locations people are shooting in that I'm not shooting in because we took on less stuff. But I would say what didn't work, this isn't really what didn't work, but a struggle was when Peyton passed away.
Yeah.
That really took the wind out of my sails. And if you don't know who Peyton is, that's my soul dog, my pit bull who had cancer and passed away in June. And I don't think I realized how much that was affecting me. I was trying to like bury it deep down, but it did affect me. And then it feels weird to be like, I'm grieving so hard over a dog, but you know, he was my best friend. Yeah. So that was a huge struggle. I wouldn't say that was what didn't work because that was just something that happened. But what else? The other thing I think, which again is like a mixed bag, because you know, I have ADHD, so I see shiny things and have all these ideas, and I really have to reel myself in with the ideas. But this year I launched Adventures in Google Ads and I launched Stoked Academy, which I love both of those offers, and I've had amazing testimonials from people for both of those things, but it did kind of take away some of my active selling of the mastermind. So now at the end of the year, our numbers have gotten lower than what I would like. So again, this is coaching stuff, which I don't know if you guys care about if you just want to be an elopement photographer. But my main life is coaching, and I just want to be transparent and stuff like that. So yeah, I think I got a little bit of shiny object syndrome this year, and I hear so much feedback from people wanting to have access to things that aren't as expensive as the mastermind. But by providing those things for people through Adventures in Google Ads and Stoked Academy, I kind of neglected the onboarding of new mastermind members is really what it came down to. So in hindsight, I don't know if I would really do anything differently, but next year in 2025, I'm not going to create any more offers.
We're sharing a look right now.
Yeah.
I'm going to hold you to that.
Todd
as
is
best
like,
I can.
Okay, you said that last year. Yeah.
Yeah, just taking on too much and getting spread a little bit too thin.
Yeah. Well, and I don't even think I'm spread that thin. I think what it really comes down to is that it's fatiguing to me to sell the mastermind because I hear so many sob stories and I get so many no's because it's a big program and it's pricey, you know? So most of the people that apply don't sign up. And that's just like, it gets sad to me after a while because I'm like, I can help you, you know, like I can help you, but then I got to be really involved and that comes at a price. But I think that's kind of one of my biggest struggles this year, now that I'm word vomiting it all out, was the fatigue from hearing so many people who are struggling, who I know I can help, who don't join. And then, yeah, sometimes I'm just like, I don't want to do another call or have another DM conversation if they're just going to say no, because I get emotionally involved, you know? So, yeah.
All right, let's turn it around. Let's end it on a high note. So
Yes.
let's go back to a summary of some of your students. So, like, what did people say they wanted to improve on for next year?
Yeah, so at the end of this exercise, after we all kind of laid out all of our vulnerabilities, we came up with some plans for 2025 so that we were not going to overextend ourselves again, essentially. So one was absolutely boundaries. So one of the big things was only booking ideal clients. So anybody that gives a little bit of a red flag energy, you know, who it's like, oh, I really could use the money, but I feel like something's not quite right about this, don't book that person. So that was a big one. And then also setting limits to the number of elopements that they're booking or that you're booking, and making sure that you only have a certain number in a week or a certain number in a month, or that you are batching them, kind of like if you have to travel a long distance for a location, don't do it multiple times in a month or multiple times in a quarter. Encourage couples to move their dates to times where you're already going to be there, because when you're driving back and forth all over the place, you can't get work done, you can't answer emails, you can't edit, and things get backed up, and it's stressful and overwhelming.
So just being more intentional with scheduling throughout the year.
Yeah, absolutely. And even like looking at your calendar and blocking off certain months or weeks or holidays and being like, I am not booking in this week, period, and holding to it. And one of the things we did, not in 2024, because we already decided to only take on 5, but in 2023, remember when we like went by each month and we're like, okay, what's the max number of elopements we're going to take this month? And it was like 3 some months, or maybe none because we wanted to ski or travel that month. So really, really setting those boundaries as far as your schedule goes. The next thing we kind of came up with to improve 2025 was time management and just figuring out what works for you and what doesn't. And again, that's a really unique and personal thing, like how you can manage time. But one of the big things for time management is raising your prices and booking less things. That automatically helps with time management. And then outsourcing things that you hate doing. So we had big conversations about editing and culling, because so many people were stressed out over editing and culling. And that is my favorite thing to outsource because it frees up 30 hours a week. Like, your life changes completely when you outsource editing and culling.
And if you're new around here, Megan loves to outsource the things that she doesn't like. And we have an episode somewhere in the backlog of how and why you should outsource.
Yeah, definitely listen to that. But it basically breaks down to like, if you don't enjoy it, if you're resenting it, if it's draining your energy, give it to somebody who loves doing it, and then focus on your strengths.
Oh, and I just looked up, it's episode 81. If you want to go back and listen.
Perfect. Definitely check that out. The other things were self-care. So prioritizing rest, prioritizing therapy, prioritizing mindset work, and really being intentional about those things and not working yourself to the bone. Because what happens when you burn the candle at both ends, you ruin the part of your nervous system that allows you to rest. So then you have to actively build it back up again. And that has to be a conscious effort on your part, or else you will just fill your life with things that stress you out. And then a lot of people were getting rid of weddings completely and getting rid of engagement sessions completely and really only focusing on elopements going forward in 2025. I think a lot of the mastermind members took on weddings for money or because they had already been booked for 2024. And like after each one, they're just like, I don't want to do this anymore. It just doesn't align with my values. Like I'm resentful. I'm not happy. Like, so a lot of them are just like, I'm not doing these things again in 2025. And then I also have to mention, and this is a very mastermind heavy episode, but the top thing people said was the thing that worked in 2024 was the mastermind. So I just have to throw that in there because that made me feel really happy. It was the thing that worked for us in 2024 was really, we've been running this thing for 3 full years now, 2022, 2023, and now 2024. And we're just constantly making it better. And so it's just always good when people are like, it's the best investment I made. So in summary, when you go into 2025, you're going to book elopements at higher prices with clients that are ideal, that you can be friends with. You're not going to overbook yourself. You're not going to overextend yourself. You are going to outsource the things that you don't like. You are going to stop people pleasing. You are going to rest and go to therapy and do the mindset work. You are going to embrace the uniqueness of your brain as a neurodivergent individual, and you're going to focus on your strengths and all the things that didn't work in 2024. You are not going to repeat that. You hear me, listener? And we're going to practice what we preach too. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what this episode is like December 2025. So next episode is, I think, January 2nd. So it's going to be 2025. So I'm going to go over some more things you should be doing in 2025 to build an awesome dream elopement business. But for now, I hope that you learned a lot, that you realized you're not alone and everyone struggles with stuff and you just got to learn from it and get better.
Yeah. And if you're still listening, I'd also say enjoy the holidays, right? End of the year. We've all been busting it, working pretty hard all year. Take some time off.
Yeah.
Put your computer down, put your camera down, enjoy your family and friends.
Yeah, that's so sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Happy holidays, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks so much for joining us on this week's episode of Stoked. If you enjoyed the show and you'd like to help support the podcast, please subscribe, leave a review, and tell a friend. If you're looking for more inspiring elopement photography content, check us out on Instagram at Megan McPhail. And if you'd like to hear more about my business coaching and how I can personally help you hit 6 figures as an elopement photographer, then check out my website at www.meganmcphail.com.